Write that down, Fumi Saito.
Write that down.
Write that.
With Fumi Saito and Justin Nipper.
Write that down, Fumi Saito.
Patrons, welcome back. This is Write That Down. I'm Justin Nipper, and I'm here with Fumi Saito. Fumi, hello.
Hello from Tokyo.
So, today's topic, part 2. We're back to Stan Hansen, part 2. We left off last time at around 1989, and this was a big time for Stan Hansen because he was... So, we should do a little review, a little quick review. So, he came to Japan in 73, 74, 75.
75. He debuted January 1st of 73.
Mm-hmm.
And the first trip to Japan was All Japan, September of 1975.
1975. So he was first on Japanese soil, 1975 for All Japan.
Yeah, All Japan. As a pretty much like a rookie. It was third year, but he was placed as a rookie because on tour there was people like Abdullah the Butcher, the Ox Baker, the Larry Zbyszko, the Bobby Jaggers, that a little bit more veteran crew. So Stan was the rookie one in that crew. Yeah,
with the long blonde hair.
Yeah.
A little bit different look.
And also, it's sometimes hard how big of a star this wrestling this person can be. It's kind of hard to tell on your first trip. He was just big Texas guy. Yeah.
And then he would come back to Japan, but he wouldn't come back to All Japan immediately.
Right. He had a big program in WWE with Bruno Sammartino, where he broke his neck, kind of thing. Remember?
That's right.
And he became main event star in Madison Square Garden. He had the 6 months run with WWF. And top program would be, of course, back in 76. Yes, he was a top program against Bruno Sammartino. That made him star. Okay. And 76 was the year where they had Antonio Inoki against Muhammad Ali. WWE was American feed, the server, before internet live streaming or pay-per-view. It was your live beaming, streaming, not an internet. It's before internet. It was more like your cable
closed circuit CCTV.
television show. Yeah, from satellite television, the feeding from Japan. And to make it Friday night in New York, they had Muhammad Ali Inoki fight in Tokyo on Tokyo Saturday morning, and in New York Shea Stadium, live main event was returning Bruno Sammartino against Stan Hansen. He was already established superstar in New York that time.
So he was becoming this huge star.
Actually, he didn't really break Bruno Sammartino's neck with Lariat or anything. It was an accident, very beginning of the match, kind of slipped with sweat and, body slam slipped, and then Stan kind of dropped Bruno Sammartino from head, But Bruno got up, broke his neck and got up and finished the match. That was the deal. But when somebody breaks neck, yes, it will be used as storyline. Stan Hansen, who broke Bruno Sammartino, living legend's neck. And that made him star, right? Yeah.
And then on his way... So because he was working with the WWF, they eventually sort of made a deal with Mr. Shinma in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
They signed the deal year before that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like 75 to 84, 85, they had like a 11-year business partnership between New Japan and Vince McMahon Sr.'s WWF. Yeah.
And so that was what saw him go to New Japan first before he would return back to
January of 77. He was already back in Japan. This time, New Japan's Antonio Inoki's new rival. What was so interesting in hindsight, year 79, 80, 81-ish. Well, the starting it was Stan, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81. Stan was with New Japan next 5 years as top talent. I don't know how many times he had title match against Inoki, but he did surpass people like Tiger Jeet Singh. See, Tiger Jeet Singh was Inoki's #1 rival all through 70s. But at the end of 70s into early 80s, Stan pretty much took Tiger Jeet Singh's place as #1 American in Inoki's crew. And at the same time, year 79, 80, 81, these 3 years with All Japan, it was Bruiser Brody who surpassed Abdul the Butcher as #1 Gaijin. So around the same time, 78, 79, 80 into 81, Stan Hansen was #1 American Gaijin for Inoki's New Japan. Bruiser Brody was #1 American Gaijin superstar for All Japan. So those two has separate run in two different companies. That's why it was huge deal when Stan switched the sides to All Japan and the Super Miracle Violence Duo, whatever. Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody became tag team. It was a miracle team that the two superstar, finally got together, because Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody tag team was something that you read in Japanese wrestling magazine all through 70s. They were the tag team champions in Louisiana. And also, Bruiser Brody had his WWE run. Young Bruiser Brody against Bruno Sammartino, pretty much right before or after in the Stan Hansen program, it was Bruno. So they were in New York around the same time too.
Yeah, the careers sort of kind of ran parallel to each other at a lot of times. If they weren't in the same company together, they'd be kind of on the similar path, just in a different promotion.
Yeah, they were tag team, but they were never really tag team wrestlers. Two single wrestler getting together to become team, Yeah.
So did it feel like a real, like a dream team kind of pairing?
Yeah. Real dream.
So it never felt like, it's kind of like, do you remember when like Steve Austin and Triple H?
Yeah, and then even better if you come from different company. Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of had a big feel to it, big time feel.
Yeah, Kevin Nash Hall. Yeah, like a big superstar switching company, big companies, And he was the last one, And also, Abdul the Butcher traditionally being All Japan's Baba superstar, but he was getting old, and Bruiser Brody pretty much replaced him. And Tiger Jeet Singh, Inoki's #1 rival all through 70s. Stan Hansen came in and pretty much replaced him. So it all happened around the same time. It was very symbolic. Yeah.
And when Stan Hansen was finally rotated out of New Japan, he ended up back in All Japan.
Yeah.
For Giant Baba.
Yeah,
we had a really good relationship with.
Yeah,
through Terry Funk. That's right.
Yeah, but they were never publicized because Stan Hansen and Terry Funk would be working against each other in the ring program. So they didn't really announce it. It was Terry Funk who put together a deal. And sometimes they don't say it,
Right.
Yeah. And but the Stan and Terry Funk, they were always so tight. From all Amaretto group. Yeah.
Yeah, very unique set of guys that are all from around the same area, if not the same school. Like we're talking with
West Texas State. Yeah,
Bruiser Brody, Funk,
Bobby
Stan
Duncan,
Hansen,
Dusty
DiBiase,
Rhodes, Dick Murdoch, Tito Santana, Ted DiBiase, Tully Blanchard, or even Barry Windham. And also years back, Dory Funk and Terry Funk was in the school too. Yeah, so. They were like all big football player and being wrestling fan and beer drinker and being Terry Funk fan too when they were all in college playing football. Can you imagine like a football dressing room, people like Bruiser Brody and Stan Hansen, Dusty Rhodes all in it,
I can't imagine the smell.
A smell. Okay. Right. That too. Oh, and then also like a really bully type, dressed in the locker room. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
push each other.
Competitive stars all in the same locker room.
All Eagles. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, it might be more exciting than out in the ring.
Yeah. But the thing is, what's interesting, though, they wanted to become wrestlers. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
See, a lot of the football players are secretly wrestling fans, huh?
Yeah, look at, what's his name? Pat McAfee, who's in WWE now.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, that too. But your football coach will never tell you to be a wrestler. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah. They'll always try to do the opposite.
Yeah. Oh,
We'll
the
get you to
college
stay.
wrestling coach. College wrestling coach will
Right.
never tell you to be a professional wrestler. They're all fake and bad people. Oh, cliche, huh? You know, but it's like geographically, you know, they're just such a like almost like a folklore that those guys all went to college, you know, together and played football together same time. And also there was a local wrestling in Amarillo, Texas. The Funks was running that they all go watch it, you know. Young college student, you know, Stan Hansen, Bruiser, Brody, Dusty Rhodes, those people actually went to watch Terry Funk wrestle, you know. Yeah, as a fan.
I'm what I read from his book. Stan Hansen said he would go and he would drink beer and yell at Terry Funk and all the guys in the ring, just like anybody else.
And they thought, you know, the young Stan reminded, you know, a lot of people of young Terry Funk, you know.
I could see that. I mean, Stan Hansen had a pretty powerful voice. I'm sure he was using it back then.
And the flannel shirt and the Wrangler jeans and cowboy boots and, you know.
Probably cowboy hat too.
Cowboy hat too, of course. 10-gallon hat. Yeah, almost cliche. But Japanese people always loved cowboy automatically, though. You know? Yeah.
So he really embodied that vision that people had already in their minds of what the cowboy
just
might
like
represent.
if you have this visual image of Japanese samurai or something. Yeah, that's almost cliche, but yeah.
But you know what? I think Great Muta kind of filled that need or
right.
something in Western
what
minds,
what you expect from Japanese person, huh?
Something, especially back then where it's mystical. He's kind of a ninja, kind of not really. There's kabuki somewhere. There's makeup, but you don't really know. It's not really Japanese, actually. It's just
also you are a master of martial arts and you kick and chops.
Yes, of course, but no specific martial arts, just general martial arts.
Some kicking, like you'll get by any Bruce Lee move, something.
I liked when the announcers would say judo chop.
There is no chop in judo.
That's why it's great. They would say the judo chop.
There is no striking in judo.
I imagine if you saw somebody at the World Judo tournament throw a chop, you know,
you're DQ'd
automatically. Yeah. So then when Stan Hansen was back in All Japan, and we're talking late 80s, then he really started to establish himself as the number one foreign wrestler, not just in All Japan.
Yeah, Stan Hansen joining, you know, the end of 81, only a few days after he finished up, you know, New Japan's tag team tournament, and he was still in Tokyo, then showed up in street clothes with All Japan's tag team tournament final as a second of Bruiser Brody and Jimmy Snuka. Well, deal was made before that, but you know, showing up with street clothes, you know, at the big show, it was a huge impact. Yeah. Then Stan Hansen ended up being with All Japan Pro Wrestling next 20 years, between 1981 to 2001. You know, the January of 2001, he finally retired in Japan. So he spent next 20 years in Japan, All Japan, you know.
So let's get right into his work in All Japan in the later 80s. Around like 1989 is when
that championship was combined and merged. Then two champions, international champion Jumbo against PWF, Pacific Wrestling Federation, and UN, United National Heavyweight Champion, two champion Stan against the international champion Jumbo in April of 89 in Ota Gym, and Jumbo pretty much conquered the three belts, and it became Triple Crown. That's end of 89. It's actually Heisei, first year of Heisei era. And 89 sounds like the end of the 80s, so it was all appropriate, I think. 90s wrestling meant Triple Crown, you know? And also it was withdrawing from traditional NWA affiliates. That's also need to be pointed out, because All Japan, Giant Baba's All Japan was like always strong affiliate of AWA and NWA, right? Mm-hmm. In 1989, there is no NWA like a traditional NWA. You know, NWA Crockett already became WCW, and they were about to sign a deal with New Japan. And AWA, Vern Gagne's AWA was going to run out of business, and it did in 1990. And there is no affiliate, And some of these, old traditional Japanese wrestling fans still look at, All Japan's international title, international heavyweight. It's NWA international heavyweight title, isn't it? Then they say, when you call it United National UN title, a lot of people still call it NWA United National title, right? So, no, it's not. There is no affiliate. It's All Japan. Nothing wrong with being recognized with All Japan, right? But some of the traditional Japanese wrestling fans traditionally want American company to be, like a recognizing organization or something,
Something official, like it's not just made up. It's sanctioned by NWA.
Sanctioned by that's a myth.
Original.
It's a myth, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like something that's like your MLB affiliate or NBA affiliate or NFL affiliate, kind of like that. And it was a time that Giant Baba decided to withdraw all the affiliates from American existing wrestling companies. He wouldn't do business with WWF. There is no WCW, NWA. There is no AWA anymore. And the American wrestlers Giant Baba had, during 90s, it's all original American wrestlers, All Japan, under All Japan contract. Like, Stan Hansen, Steve Williams, Terry Gordy, Danny Spivey, Johnny S., Doug Furnace, Dan Spivey, Dan Crawford, Danny Crawford, Johnny Smith. There are a lot. The Patriot. There's like 20 American stars under All Japan contract. So the Japanese wrestling fans started recognizing, right, these are American stars who work for All Japan Wrestling. It's like finally got the regular American crew or something. New Japan the same way.
But they both definitely had different flavors, especially in the 90s.
Of course. New Japan at the time, Vader, Bigelow, Scott Norton, Tony Holm, and a little bit later on Don Fry, and also not necessarily smooth worker, but more stiff, realistic. I mean, like a real stiff, snug style, right?
Scott Norton, Ron Simmons would pop up. The big guys from WCW.
Big guys, And then they work so stiff, but Japanese wrestlers don't complain, It was just, I always remember like Scott Norton, Bam Bam Bigelow, the Vader in 6-man tag team situation, all beating up young Kensuke Sasaki the entire time,
Wow, it's like hazing. It's like torture.
But Kensuke never complained, and then later on he became Power Warrior, So it worked out, Yeah.
So Stan Hansen, even though he wasn't, so at this point, like 1990, 1991, he wasn't necessarily young. He was getting, this was kind of the prime time of his career, maybe not the zenith of his career, but definitely an important section of his career, because I think he really, as they say, gave the rub to stars like Mitsuharu Misawa, Toshiaki Kawada,
when he switched affiliate from New Japan to All Japan starting in 82, first program was, of course, against Giant Baba. Then Stan beats Giant Baba to become PWF, Pacific Wrestling Federation champion. But after that, you have program against Jumbo. You have program against Funks. You have program against other Americans like Gordy and Steve Williams. Then after Jumbo, you have Misawa, Kobashi, Kawada, their generation. Then Stan was involved in this Triple Crown program all the way till like 96, That's a long, that's a long, program. Jumbo program, Terry Gordy program, the program, Triple Crown, then Misawa, and Jumbo again, then Kawada. And at the same time, Stan and Tenryu became tag team. Stan and Kawada became tag team. He had Stan Hansen had a lot of different tag team partners. Like we talked about Stan and Brody's tag team, Stan and Ted DiBiase tag team, Stan and Dan Spivey was a tag team, Stan Hansen and Terry Gordy was a tag team, And Stan Hansen a little bit later on made a tag team with Gary Albright. And a little bit at the end, he was tag team partner with Vader. So Stan gave each and every American his superstar rub too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and wasn't he right before? I think wasn't he with Baba right before?
He was a tag team partner. Tag team partner was Baba, right? It was like a senior babyface. Yeah, right.
And I think that might have been the reverse, where seeing him with Baba, I mean, how can fans not love that? After they had their first match earlier on in the 80s.
Right.
I think they were in the Real World, the tournament, the Real World Tag Series.
Right. And also, you are loved so much after you spend so much time in front of the audience, right? I mean, you can't be, you work like heel, but you cannot be, you can no longer be heel. If people watch Stan, he works the same, but you look at him like a babyface because they love him.
I mean, he would come out and just you would see people run to him,
and he swing his cowbell, and you get hit. Oh my gosh!
Were you ever hit by his cowbell?
I was chased by Sheik and Abby as a kid.
That's right. A little before, with the fork,
and
pencil.
Or a piece of chopsticks or something like that, broken chopsticks. And if real old-fashioned looking bottle opener, like a beer bottle opener.
Yeah, like a kind of heart shape.
Yeah.
Longer. Yeah.
Right, you can hold it. He used to use that. Then we were chased, like my 6th grade, 7th grade friends, we were chased by Abby and Stan. Then Abby turned around and went the other way, so we chased him so we can touch his back. Then we touched his back. His back was really wet. I mean, like a sweaty. But you want to touch.
It's kind of like survival game too, right?
I guess. Because they're like not this. I mean, like out of this world kind of people,
Yeah, like when else would you see a person of this size, this craziness with a bottle opener in his hand, can opener in his hand, chasing you,
bleeding too,
sweating, screaming.
And Abdul the Butcher was supposed to be from Sudan. What is Sudan?
Yeah, the madman from Sudan.
Yeah.
And it
and
really
the goes from Syria,
Right. Yeah, Syria, Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, they were scary though. They were scary.
But it really was a point in not just Japanese history, but probably around the world where the information and just a cultural literacy just wasn't there. It was something new. Everybody was seeing it.
This all happened before the internet. We didn't even have a cell phone, There was no fax, nothing. It's just watch wrestling every week and get the dates and find the building. You go to show if you're lucky, and you might be able to touch the wrestlers.
Because they're not going to be anywhere else in Japan. That's for sure.
Yeah, but so the same way, if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, a generation younger than we are, that Stan, Bruiser, Brody, they're like larger than life, form. Larger than life superstars.
Like when you go to an amusement park, you see the characters. I mean, they're like that, but they're real. They're real guys. And I remember when you sent me a picture of yourself a long time ago with Brody and Snuka, and you could see how big, how gigantic they were, and they the way they acted, and Stan Hansen's included in this too. They'd take themselves or their quote their character, and they'd really tune it up, and they'd really go for it and go 110% in whatever they were doing, and it really did make it sounds kind of vague, but it makes that it gives it that effect.
Stan, and at the same time, Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody were not really crazy person. When you see the press and interview, sit down interview, they were very intellectual and do like sport interview, no gimmick storyline interviews. When Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody, or for people like Terry Funk, Tiger Jitsin, Abdul the Butcher for that matter, their interviews, magazine interviews, are very serious content, So people take them more seriously too, Yeah.
So, by the early 90s is also when Hansen was having really, people call them classic matches now with some of the top All Japan Japanese stars, the younger stars at the time, like Misawa and Kobashi and Kawada.
Right, after Jumbo, right.
After Jumbo, yeah. After Misawa beat Jumbo and Jumbo was kind of moved out of the picture.
Right,
I mean,
right.
he was still
Became
there,
senior.
but he wasn't, it was different from the 80s. It was, like you said, the Heisei period, everything was kind of new again, but Stan Hansen was still there.
Right, right.
He was one of the...
he meant to do that. Oh, it's like being a big wall standing in front of you, you know?
Almost literally. He was that big. He was that wide. And he never really felt like he was out of place either. He never felt like a senior with those guys.
Right. And also, Stan never had to keep up with like Misawa style wrestling or Kobashi style technique. You know, like they do a lot of different moves, right? Mm-hmm. Stan just being there and just being physical. You know, he doesn't do fancy moves, but when he does a shoulder block, running tackle, or the kick you, or give you a knee drop, just those simple things mean so much, you know.
And it looks especially special when Stan Hansen did.
Yeah, Stan Hansen gave me and told me about this very important philosophy about Japanese wrestling that he laid this out for me in front of me, very easy to understand. He said that Japanese against Japanese in wrestling probably won't work as good because, you know, from generation of Giant Baba into Jumbo's generation, Giant Baba never really put Jumbo Tsuruta over clean like a single match. Jumbo never beat Baba, you know. By becoming AWA, you know, go to America and then becoming AWA World Heavyweight Champion, had a different accomplishment. Then he became the main event, okay? So in Stan's eyes, Jumbo never really surpassed Giant Baba's status because of it. But it happens like just like in the real world, you know, Japanese status and the cluster and the hierarchy and the ranking within the company, that the Japanese person has to wait for the senior person to step down a little. Therefore, you can climb up one step. And this is like just like real world in the social structure that the wrestling fans will be disappointed. What Stan Hansen thought was that you need big, bad gaijin American badass heel that you cannot do anything about, that it's not a logic, it's not a theory, physically so big and huge and strong that these Japanese wrestlers cannot do anything about. That's the reality. That's the storyline Stan Hansen always wanted to give to Japanese wrestling. See, Misawa's getting super popular and becoming a main event. Kawada and Kobashi becoming super, they're talented and super popular and it's getting to be the main guy in the company. But Stan wanted to be that person, that these guys are good, but physically you cannot do anything about it because they are like you're fighting monster Americans. That's what he wanted to be. That's what wrestling fans need. And if it's too similar to real social structure, like working up, your ladders, the people will be disappointed that the wrestling fan Stan didn't think, Japanese people would enjoy Misawa against Jumbo as much, or Misawa against Kawada so many times, Misawa Kobashi so many times. They'll never lead that into any conclusion. You need American that the physically so dominate, huge, that these Japanese technical wrestlers can't do anything about. Stan wanted to be that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it sounds like it's more of an X factor because it's Stan Hansen or it's somebody from outside who anything can happen.
Yeah,
whereas
so it's not a logic or storyline that he's big that he can be exceptional. That's why he outlasted everybody else.
So, like his idea about Japanese, like Jumbo versus Misawa wouldn't work as well, he thought, because people kind of expect the
like
outcome.
A social structure almost. Yeah,
yeah, it's like everyday life. There's no escape.
Yeah,
it's
superior or senior. Yeah, or your company ranking or something. Yeah,
sure. But you have Bruiser Brody or Stan Hansen in the picture, then it's different. I don't know.
They cannot do anything about. Yeah.
So it becomes a new story.
Yeah, and then also that gives more reality to wrestling. Yeah.
And a interesting way of looking at the outside world.
Because Stan was telling me that he was here before them, he's here after them. It's like, he's seen Japanese wrestler, or even, American wrestler for that matter, that he has witnessed people come and go, And he decided to spend the rest of his wrestling active career in Japan, and he recognized his role, that what Giant Baba against Stan meant, what Stan against Jumbo Tsuruta meant, what Stan Hansen against Misawa meant, what Stan against Kawada or Kobashi. It all means different things. Yeah. He was really thinking. Yeah.
And he really, it led eventually, I mean, this isn't directly connected to Hansen, but as the 90s went on and his career started to wind down, but All Japan they were able to run a Tokyo Dome show.
Yeah, 98. Yeah,
98 later
almost late, but Giant Baba was so conservative that it's not a very good place to watch wrestling. That's what he was saying about Tokyo Dome. It's true.
Yeah, but
so far away.
That's true. But they did it, and it was, like I said, it wasn't directly, of course, because of Hansen, but he's a kind of like a cornerstone, touchstone of All Japan.
Oh, definitely.
For all those years.
And he witnessed everything, He witnessed Giant Baba, Abdul the Butcher era, He's seen the Funks, the Sheiks, the Tiger Jeet Singh, and he's seen, Choshu's crew came in and left. There was a Road
Tenryu.
Warrior era. Yeah, Tenryu turned. When Tenryu turned on Jumbo and became heel, it was not treated like a heel turn in Japan. It was more like a philosophy difference, Storyline wise, yes, it looks like it's simply Tenryu turning heel on Jumbo, right? But the storyline was that it was more like a differences in philosophy. Each guys decide to go their own way, take their own path. More like grown-up storyline instead of childish storyline.
Right. It was a more nuance in the story.
Yeah. So it was natural that the Tenryu will appoint somebody like Ashura Hara to be his tag team partner, and Jumbo had to look for somebody like Taue or a young Tiger Mask to be his tag team partner. Like a Japanese babyface crew split into two groups, two different factions or something. And it was interesting after Choshu's group left.
And it seems like it set up the company for a couple years to come after that.
Yeah, if you do it right, wrestling story in one feud can last a year, right? Yeah.
Or more.
More, yeah. Oh, God.
Ideally more, yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't understand when I first learned when I was a kid. Abdul, the Sheik, this is about Detroit, Michigan. The Sheik against Bobo Brazil, right? It lasted over 30 years. How could one match last 30 years? The one storyline, one feud lasts over 30 years. But when you think about it, Riki Choshu against Fujinami lasted over 30 years.
That's right, yeah. I feel like they just had one of their those Masters matches a few years ago, maybe 6-man or something, but there's still, it's always something.
It's like a best scene, right? Like a montage clip of your Scorpion Deathlock spot, or your Dragon Sleeper spot, or the backbreaker spot, or your Ricky Lariat spot. It's everything you've already seen.
They were just playing the hits.
I think so, or just the phrases.
Yeah, parts of the hits.
Yeah, like all fragments. But it's good. They do the same. That's another thing good about wrestling. Because you want your hero to last forever.
And Hansen felt like that. There was never a moment where people, or at least me as a fan, you don't feel like, wow,
he
Stan
don't
Hansen
get pinned, and he never submit.
He never came off looking like he was really beaten down.
That was another thing I learned from Stan and Brody. What do you think is worse? Getting pinned 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, or you tap out on submission move? Both bad though, because it's a complete lose, right? I mean, losing the game, I mean, you you completely, losing the match.
Different style of loss, though.
Yeah.
Different manner.
Both Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen, or even Snuka said the tapping out, not a tapping out in that era, but it's like a giving up. It was what they're saying. Giving up, to a certain submission in the middle of the ring is worse than getting pinned. That's the worst, is what they're saying. And truth enough that I don't remember Stan ever being, submitted to a figure 4 leg lock or scorpion deathlock or your STF or something like that. You don't remember, do you? I don't.
No, I only remember. I remember if he would lose, it would be a
small.
He would kick out. No, he would kick out at 3.1.
The count of 3, right?
Yeah,
at the count of 3, right? He gets up and beat everybody up and leave, right?
Yeah, immediately.
Right. He does that.
He saved his heat immediately.
Right. Or small package inside cradle kind of thing. Yeah. Or
and he would complain about it.
Real lame backslide or something, right?
And he out of nowhere.
Then he gets up and starts beating everybody up.
Yeah, and then beats up the fans and leaves, and everybody goes home
and
happy.
It's like, oh, what happened? Yeah, and then the winner of the match laying down,
But he never was taken out of that Stan Hansen, the cowboy character. He, no matter what, win or loss, he was always Stan Hansen.
I believe he did at the very end. If you remember, Misawa, no, it was Kobashi Akiyama tag team combination went against Stan and Vader as a team.
Was that a Tokyo Dome?
No, it's a Budokan, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, the tag team final. It was the only time I can clearly recall the right hand, right arm clothesline. Kobashi actually pinned Stan Hansen 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. It was really rare. With clothesline? Yeah.
And I think he beat Stan Hansen in singles, but it wasn't like a definitive win. It was like you said, I forget what the finish was, but it wasn't a definitive absolute win. Like in sumo, there's an absolute winner.
Right.
We
no
know.
chance type, yeah.
And so that's maybe one of the only real times that Hansen gave someone a real win, and look how much it meant. Look how much that means.
I think he did that with Misawa, Kobashi, and Kawada once or twice each, but that's about it. That's about it, though. I mean, among 20-year run with All Japan, wrestling, 20 years consecutive, I think he only got beat maybe 5 times altogether. That's huge, and no complaint, and not selfish, just being Stan Hansen.
Yeah, and he wrestled a variety of different wrestlers while he was there too, and he really could get on with any of them if they were smaller or bigger and they're fast or slow. I mean, and it's amazing, even in the 90s, watching Stan Hansen move. I mean, he's pretty fast for someone his size. He doesn't look like he would move.
And somebody who is extremely nearsighted.
That's scary when I see a drop kick or a lariat coming your way.
Or run right into you with big shoulder blocks. Boom!
And he doesn't have a normal human chest. He has, a Stan Hansen chest.
And then he's not a bodybuilder type. Just big. But
like he's born to be that way, yeah.
And also, Japanese people love it. It's like he's like a sumo wrestler type.
So how did people react when him and Tenryu were a team for a short while?
Oh, yeah, that's good. Because neither of them are bodybuilder type, but it just does a chop, punch, elbow, back elbow, stomp, elbow drop. That's all easy to understand.
It's very masculine wrestling.
Yeah, and then actual contact, you
Lots
can
of
hear
contact.
Yeah, you can hear it. And all big guys, no short guys. All Japan, when you go to All Japan shows, they're all tall. Actually, on TV, Great Kabuki didn't look all that tall. But when you see Great Kabuki in person, walking through the aisle, oh, wow, he was a lot taller than I thought. It's kids will be saying that, Jumbo, how big he was. I mean, so tall, And
6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, and even Misawa, he's bigger than any today's wrestlers. Like, I'm talking about people like Tanahashi, the Naito, Suwama's big, but
it's not the same.
Kenta Miyahara and all these guys, Misawa, Jumbo, they were a lot bigger than today's main event guys.
I can only think maybe Okada is the same height as any of those guys from back then.
Okada's, but he's a lot lighter. He's only 215 pounds. Yeah.
It's like a junior weight. That was what the junior weight was back in the day.
If that, yeah. Everybody's slender now, yeah.
So let me ask you this. If this is just complete fantasy, but if Stan Hansen was to get back into the ring today, do you think he could still command the same power and the same ability to draw people to watch his matches as he did back in the day? Then we probably have to talk about dark age of Japanese wrestling, Yeah, that's also right, because he
so
would be
many
there
people
in theory,
left. Yeah. So many wrestling fans pretty much left and checked out, and quit watching wrestling altogether around 2005, 2006. And a lot of them went to MMA, and they became MMA fan and never came back to wrestling. And a lot of wrestling fans actually left altogether. Then after that, you have your Tanahashi, Shinsuke Nakamura era, that new Noah era, that the different people, different company, different fans. The wrestling business is supported by completely different audience from 10 years ago now. So I'm not sure about Stan, because Stan Hansen might be a wrestler that my parents used to watch. How's that?
I see.
Yeah.
So
because Stan Hansen had the same feeling. During the late 80s into 90s, there was fans walking up to Stan Hansen saying that my grandfather used to watch, my grandma used to watch, my father used to watch. Now that this girl and a female fan brings her, little kids. So it's like 3 generations of wrestling fans visiting Stan at the Budokan or something. So he was that kind of star.
How would he rate up against the Destroyer in terms of biggest foreign stars in Japan overall? Because they're a little bit of a different generation that came out.
Very, very different generation. But Destroyer's prime time is late 60s into 70s, and he pretty much he didn't retire until 1990, but practically he was done like in 1980.
He was just wrestling like tag matches.
Yeah, and then also just once a year, every summer. And back home he didn't even wrestle. He came back every summer, like a summer vacation holiday, and he worked one tour, But he was also a masked guy, the Destroyer guy, and he was on network channel, and who was a first American who actually moved his family to Japan. He lived in Tokyo. He had lived in Tokyo like 7 years straight, and then Destroyers, all his kids, 3 kids went to school in Japan. They all speak Japanese. It's all different. Stan was always in Gaijin American side, always hitting home run batter, right? And never changed, and never really turned babyface. Like you said, you and I talked about tag team, with Stan Hansen, with Giant Baba, and maybe once Stan and Jumbo once, maybe. But he never really did that. He always kept himself in Gaijin side, American side. Therefore, occasional tag team with Kawada, occasional tag team with Tenryu means a lot more, Yeah. But always stayed in American side. And he never put over Steve Williams. He never put over Danny Spivey. He never put over Johnny Ace. He was not beat. It's interesting.
He was the top guy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of people say a lot of things about the nature of professional wrestling and how it works. It's all work, but look, it's work fine, but they are still not gonna let you win. Winning losing still means a lot, even in wrestling. They're not gonna let you win, right? I mean, it has to mean something, or you have to be put in certain situation, or certain ranking, or certain program, or certain title match, picture, or certain storyline. Then you might start winning. But even in wrestling, winning and losing is very important. And Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody too, for that matter, they did not lose many matches. I think it tells a lot about wrestling business. Winning and losing is just as important.
It really speaks to his legacy even now. It's 20 years ago since he's retired. And actually,
20 years. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. This year I guess would be his
20 years. Yeah, since retiring. 20 years older.
Actually, he was one of the few foreigners or All Japan stalwarts to stay with Mrs. Baba after Giant Baba died. Actually,
right. He was and also he understood that even Japanese side, that all the dressing politics, the Stan and Johnny S too, but the Stan was actually the only one who could actually walk into Baba's private dressing anytime. He can talk to boss directly. Other wrestlers couldn't, Yeah.
It says so much about not just his wrestling status, but his status as a professional working in Japan. Even
Trust.
if you're, I worked for a corporation in Japan. I didn't. It wasn't very. It's not exciting. It's quite boring. And even still, it's to have that kind of respect with a boss, a foreign boss. It says a lot about their trust in you.
Yeah,
it really does.
There was this trust and the feeling of respect was mutual, right? Because Giant Baba, after Stan's New Japan run, real strong 3-year run, he even beat Antonio Inoki for NWF title and everything. Giant Baba asked him to come to his company. That much respect. Yeah.
Especially in a turbulent time like the 80s.
Turbulent time, yeah. If you got the Stan, it's like fine, Abdul the Butcher, from All Japan to New Japan, and Tiger Jitsin from New Japan to All Japan, fine. But it didn't settle until once Stan Hansen moved, Yeah.
So his final years with All Japan, he never came back. He didn't pull any, retire and then come back for something. He stayed retired. He makes appearances every now and then, but his final days, or what were those final days? 99, 2000, 2001.
And finally retired 2001 without having retiring match, only ceremony.
Was there any reason for that, or just?
He said he got hurt. Yeah,
I see.
Yeah, but his knees were always bad. His elbow was always bad. But,
and he had been wrestling for almost 20 years at that point too. About 18 years.
Yeah, more like close to 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
And then 20 years in Japan alone. Oh my gosh,
Had there been any other foreign wrestlers who wrestled in Japan for 20 years?
Oh, probably Abdul the Butcher and Tiger Jitsin. And Vader, in his own way. But Stan always worked the entire tour. If it was 5-week tour, he'll be there for 5 weeks. If it's 3 weeks tour, he'll be there 3 weeks, not just 1 week appearance. That he made 7 trips, 8 trips a year. Back and forth, and it was like it wasn't until Stan and Bruiser Brody who, or maybe for Hulk Hogan for that matter, that the one wrestler traveled back and forth so much within one year period. Mil Maskers, the Harley Race, the Nick Bockwinkel, all these people came like maybe once, twice a year, maybe once, right? But Stan, Brody, the Funks, they came like 7, 8 trips. They made 7 trips to Japan a year. That's regular,
And they were part of the All Japan team.
Yeah.
They were just as equal parts of the one side of it.
What's amazing is, though, they don't even have mic time. No promo, no obvious storylines, no line being fed. They just came in and wrestled. Isn't that amazing?
It says a lot, like you said. It says a lot about what people want or what's needed in wrestling.
We need to point this out because, if we have today's wrestling audience, like a younger audience, younger wrestling fans out there, and all the listeners out there, picture or imagine a wrestling show with no promo, no mic time, just matches and subtle storyline. Very subtle,
And you really have to kind of write it yourself or do it yourself, like figure it out in your own head or listen to the commentators. And if you're, and even so, it's still not much info.
And it's all competitive matches on TV. Instead of, we never had a squash or like one against enhancement talent, against against star wrestler. Always name wrestlers against name wrestlers. So it was always competitive on television, and then you could never tell who's gonna win, which is important.
Different style, different philosophy of pro wrestling.
Yeah. And you in Japan, you need, Japanese fans always love local heroes like Inoki, Baba, Misawa, Jumbo, Muto. But you will always need like a true big name American. Yeah.
To kind of balance the other side.
Yeah, I think so. That's why we say Destroyer Dick Bayer was huge, but he was babyface. He joined All Japan Company and he became senior tag team partner of Odo Jan Baba.
He was meaningful.
But at the same time, by doing so, he gave up top spot though. He will never be heel top challenger again. Whereas Stan always stood the other side. He was the guy hitting home run on the other team. You're working against each other, and he was never Japanese team.
But classic rival.
Yeah,
classic rival for everyone.
Consistency and longevity. Yeah, and always looks like Stan. Yeah.
Now, if you had to recommend patrons any matches they can go and search on YouTube from the 90s in All Japan with Stan Hansen, are there any that come to mind?
Probably the unification match, 89 April.
89.
Yeah,
Jumbo.
Yeah, Jumbo unification match. And there was a time that I believe it was June of 1990. Then Triple Crown champion Brody, Stan challenging the title and winning it from Brody.
Terry Gordy was also really on fire around that time too.
Yeah. But right, Terry Gordy beat Jumbo to become Triple Crown champion. Then Stan beat Brody to become the Triple Crown champion. And same year or next year, I believe it was in the 90 again, that champion Misawa and Stan beating Misawa to become Triple Crown again champion. Or Stan defending Triple Crown against Misawa. But this one Misawa match in July of 1990 is very, very good. Yeah. And also 1995 single match against Kawada. It's very good.
Very violent.
Yeah, but that made Kawada almost like capable of beating beating Stan.
So do you think that gave a lot of credibility to Kawada at what he would go into?
The match made it look like, Kawada is going to finally beat Stan today. It never happened though. But it made it look like this match, Kawada might really beat Stan because he was kicking so hard, Stan's face and all that, And,
gradually getting closer to winning or becoming a stronger wrestler in general. So it would help, I think, when Kawada go into another match and fans could easily think, well, he did so well against Stan Hansen that I believe.
And also, I think Kawada was the one person who took the most Lariat from Stan through the years.
Oh, gosh.
Don't you think? When you see the video clip, when you see a Stan Hansen short video clip doing a Western Lariat, it happens to be Kawada, footage always.
Yeah, all different eras of Kawada, like young junior heavyweight Kawada.
So he took it so many times. That nearsighted, devastating clothesline from left hand side.
I'm surprised he's still able to walk. Yeah.
He's not a wrestler. Kawada is not a wrestler who left without having real retirement match.
That's right.
Yeah.
He did dabble in the dark ages of pro wrestling before leaving.
But when Kawada was asked why didn't he have the ceremony or official retirement, and then Kawada's answer was always that I might do it again. I might change in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One morning you wake up and you just want to have one more match or something. So he's not.
It's like when they ask you when you leave the country, do you want to keep your resident card or if you or do you want to cancel it? Yeah, you're like, well, maybe I'll have to go.
Right. But it's like you never know. The feeling is there. He thinks he's retired, but when you wake up tomorrow morning, you might want to do it one more time, one last time.
That
passion about wrestling.
But did Stan Hansen ever have that feeling? Seems like no.
Yeah, he never did. But it was probably like a respect with like a same feeling that the Jumbo had. When you leave, you really leave. Never,
see.
No turning back.
Don't confuse the fans.
Right. And also, when Stan was retiring, he wanted to stay home and wanted two boys grown up to be a grown-up man. He was gone so much that he couldn't coach his son baseball, football, camping, all these things. He wanted to spend time with his sons. And I guess that's what his family is close, And
did Stan move his family to Japan at one point?
Yeah, at one point. I think he was living in the Kawasaki or somewhere for like a few years. But he was so private about it, Another thing, I think you and I talked about it, but if the listeners out there missed this portion, that we'll talk about it one more time. That how good was Stan's Japanese language? That in official interview, he always tell people that the journalist that the only one thing he regret is that he never really learned Japanese. That was his official answer always. I never learned Japanese. But he is the last Mohican of kayfabe era. I told you, right?
Mm-hmm.
He actually understands Japanese language a whole lot more than he can say it. In the room, it was everybody's Japanese, speaking Japanese, and he's the only American sitting in the room. He actually understands what's going on. He understands most of it, but he never lets people know about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Especially if he was there for 20 years. I'm sure you're going to hear the same phrases.
Yeah, so he listened and understand a whole lot more than he can say it. And the reason he tells people he never learned Japanese was that he never learned the grammar, proper grammar of it. But words and vocabulary and phrases, the way he handled himself, he understands most of what everybody else is talking about.
Yeah, and like you mentioned before, he would even go to the izakaya by himself.
Oh, of course. Or restaurant, hotels, airport. He does everything, He get on the taxi and tell cab driver where to go in Japanese. It's fine,
And this wasn't a time where English was it was everywhere like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And especially outside of Tokyo, it's not for a foreigner. It's not always simple if you don't know the language.
Yeah, so I believe Stan Hansen speaks and understands a whole lot more than we let to believe.
He's a very special person in the history of Japanese pro wrestling.
I think so. And #1 American superstar. I think. Well, Terry Funk big, Dory Funk huge. You say you have, Abdul the Butcher, Dick Beyer, there's so many other stars, but Stan himself really stands up because he probably spent more years in actual ring than other stars being main event.
He must have a love for Japan and for pro wrestling.
I guess, yeah. And I never seen him with fork and knife. He's the one who used chopsticks all the time. Stan? Yeah. And the way he walk into bars and start talking to, the waitress and bartenders and, it looks like he can actually carry normal conversation. He really kayfabed me on this, But
I'm sure he did for everyone.
Yeah,
who knows?
Yeah. He really speaks. Now that today's wrestler like Kenny Omega or Davey Boy Smith Jr., they write and read Japanese. It's different, different era, And for Kenny Omega's Japanese, proper grammar too, He speaks complete sentence.
Yeah, he's the first that I heard speak a Japanese that sounds like Japanese.
I mean, no accent whatsoever, huh? It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. And his
I
vocabulary
think people
is good.
are shocked when they hear him. They're really shocked.
The
when they hear him
pronunciation,
speak. Yeah.
exceptional. Yeah.
So that's Kenny is it's a different situation because it's a different era. It's a totally different.
Yeah,
era.
and then different. Yeah, it's like different
resources.
Oh, a different breed of human being.
That's true too.
Altogether, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll get to that someday. But for now, yeah, Stan Hansen is just. I don't think anybody really can even match, or probably will come close to matching what he did.
And he remained all American, all American image. What Japanese people expect from big American smiling cowboy hat, Coke bottle glasses, friendly. And so mean in the ring and strong. That guy is a star in Japan. Yeah.
He checked all the boxes. And every match, you would always hear him at the end of the match.
Yes!
That's right. That's right. The big who, the you, whatever
Actually,
it was.
he was using the word youth. Y-O-U-T-H. He's saying youth. Yeah. A lot of Japanese people thought it was a wee, right? yeah. And then somebody asked him, "What are you saying?" And he's like, I'm saying youth. Youth as in young people, youth? Yeah, youth. Yeah. That was youth. I mean, I don't know why.
I never knew that.
Yeah, the term, the word is youth. Okay, you go back and watch the old video. Say he's gonna pose and say, "Youth."
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my ears peeled next time.
Yeah. Stan himself told me about that. A lot of people made mistake. I even thought it was phew, you, or phew, something, right? The actual word was a youth. Youth is a football term.
Any reason or just
football term? Okay. Football term, he says. I mean, younger generations are always trying to beat previous generation, any sports, and the whole concept to be youth is very football and American, he says.
But in Japanese pro wrestling, I think it is too, to an extent.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we just talked about the social structure and younger wrestlers cannot go over senior wrestlers hierarchy and all these things. It's too much of a reality in the real world. That's why Stan Hansen thinks you need badass American, no excuse big guy to beat everybody up. No logic. That's what you need in wrestling.
Just force. It's like the weather. It just comes and goes.
Yeah, because
not for any personal reasons.
Otherwise, it looks too much like a real world out there. It's not wrestling anymore. Yeah, because can you imagine how many more years it would take for Kawada to beat Jumbo if Jumbo was healthy?
It would be a different story. It would be a different. It would be
somebody like Kenta Kobashi finally beating Jumbo Tsuruta in single match. It would have taken many more years.
And we don't have that time.
Right. Then also because of Jumbo's health condition and health issue, it never took place. None of those single match happened. Oh, maybe once when Kobashi was an opening match guy challenging senior wrestlers. It's a different story, But orange tights Kobashi would be challenging Jumbo. Would be like very much a big story, big program, single match, but it would take years for Kobashi to actually beat Jumbo. Japanese wrestling are like that,
It pays off, but you have to have patience.
Yeah, because Fujinami never really beat Inoki in a single match. Riki Choshu did, but people don't remember that much. Keiji Muto never beat Inoki. Chono, Hashimoto, none of them never beat Inoki in a single match. Muto, Chono, Hashimoto, they beat Fujinami and Choshu, but it was so close call that you're not supposed to remember details. That's really hard. That's why Misawa beating Jumbo, the very first single match program, Misawa beating Jumbo was so memorable, Yeah.
Like you said, it was that shock that you didn't expect.
Right. And not a count out, not a double count out, no DQ. It's the pin 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. It has to be that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why even in wrestling, we came to this conclusion that winning and losing still means something. or should mean something.
It should and it could. It really depends on how you lay it out.
Yeah, right. It sometimes doesn't.
Sometimes, yeah. There's so many different factors now, I think. It seems like in Japan it was a little more cut and dried, and there was a easier way to go from point A to point B. There's just too many points now because wrestling's changed so
then
much.
Also the style and the presentation. You know how many ref bump they use with New Japan ring? You know, that's so American, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Or weapons, using weapons all the time.
Right, or interference of Dick Togo or something. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Or the managers.
Gedo, yeah. Very American, though. But today's New Japan audience are used to it, or they think that's the way wrestling are, you know?
Because it's been for so long, it's been
that way,
for
you
so
know?
long.
Yeah, but remember, you know, the 4 pillar, you know, Misawa's four guys, Muto's 3 guys, they never had those interference or referee bumps.
Yeah, and look how we look at them now. We look at them in a more pure way. We look at them, you know, we know what wrestling is, but we look at them totally differently than we look at, I don't know, somebody from this age. Not to say it's better or worse, it's just different.
Yeah, just different. Yeah. But if you've been watching only New Japan wrestling, say last 3 years, it's the only thing you know. It's the only way you watch wrestling, and the only thing, you know, the only method they know. I mean, you know. Oh God. You know, Misawa's era, they never had interference. They never had referee bumps. No DQ.
Although there was a double count out in the 80s, and there were a lot of double count outs.
Double count out after you beat each other up for 35 minutes, yes.
Yes. And the match wouldn't stop, and they would wrestle to the back, and then they would have the rematch the next time.
Right. It's because wrestling has to be continued forever.
Of course.
Yeah, forever.
Forever and ever.
Yeah.
But for Stan Hansen, it was up until 2001. So
then also I think he remained pretty much the same status like a baseball Hall of Fame or baseball legend, that he comes over occasionally and he doesn't wrestle, but he does a talk show or autographs thing, or you know, or just comes into wrestling show and be a guest commentator or something, but still look like Stan Hansen 20 years later, like gray hair Stan Hansen. Thick mustache, still cowboy hat. Yeah.
And a big smile.
Yeah, and he's still big, tall too. Yeah. So I cherish that. I mean, he is like a real living legend. Yeah.
We need to be grateful, I suppose, and it's so cool now that in 2021 we can access all of this stuff pretty easily.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Oh, can you imagine? Like looking for like a VH tape from somebody. Does anybody have this
today? I mean, it's almost like you get laughed at. You got to go to the thrift store. Yeah, I mean, everything's out there. It's just, again, it's a different world.
Yeah, but I know some of the matches are never converted into digital format. It's still in VHS format. Some of the matches never made it to YouTube. You know,
it's amazing. NTV, I hope if they hear us, let them out someday.
Yeah, there are a lot of good footage that the people haven't seen, you know.
I'd love to just go through NTV's footage and just
NTV, Channel 4. Oh, they have all the way back to 1954.
Oh my God, It's like they're sitting. To me, that's like a gold mine.
Ricky Dozan era, Baba era, Baba Inoki together era. And
a Destroyer
era, and early All Japan 70s era, young rookie Jumbo Tsuruta era. Oh God, wow. All those for like the last 40, 50 years of it. Not all of it, because sometimes they taped it over existing tape, you know, so therefore they erased it.
Yeah.
You know, 1 inch tape or 3/4 inch tape, you know, those analog tapes, yeah. Because all these analog tapes, old film, need to be converted into digital format. Somebody has to do it.
Maybe someday.
New Japan World don't have all the footage either, you know? There are more.
Even though, because TV Asahi has it still?
Yeah, TV Asahi and New Japan working together on this, so I don't think they have the licensing problems. But the people, like individually, people like Killer Khan, when he was asked to be, you know, to join this, he declined. don't put my match in there. I'm not interested in. So some people like that. And when they asked Naoya Ogawa, his price tag was way too big. So let's not have him in there. But sometimes, if you remember, young Nobuhiko Takada, in Inoki's faction, and Fujiwara being babyface underneath Inoki or something. Those matches need to be discovered. Yeah. Or young Akira Maeda, something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or even the footage of some of those wrestlers that you mentioned, like Maeda or Takada, when they were in the States.
Right. Or just doing a traditional pro wrestling instead of like a MMA style, Right.
Like Maeda was doing typical pro wrestling.
Yeah, the drop kicking and the double arm suplexing instead of nasty kicking it, Yeah. So, or things like Akira Maeda against people like Big John Studd, or Akira Maeda against Hulk Hogan single match, Akira Maeda against Andre the Giant single match, different in style. Yeah. Adrian Adonis against Akira Maeda, Dick Murdoch against Akira Maeda single. They all exist out there, somewhere.
We'll find them someday. I hope someday.
Yeah,
but,
and it is the Japanese fans, like older fans in 60s and in the 50s and 60s. Some of them have it at home. at their home,
It's like they should turn this into a reality TV show where somebody's going on the lookout for all the classic lost pro wrestling tapes,
and the entire house is like wrestling museum or something.
Yeah, or it's like hoarders. It's just stacked to the top.
Rossi's house is like that too.
Oh yeah,
Rossi Ogawa's
just
house
filled with everything.
Upstairs, he lives in a house instead of apartment. His second floor upstairs of the house is his museum.
Wow.
I mean, like
in Kinsho of all places.
Masks, he's a lucha fan. So he has like a 500, 600 masks not used.
Oh, that's right about Miss Baba too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, she was a male Mascaras fan. And somewhat they misplaced that, and nobody can find Mrs. Baba's male Mascaras masks. I don't know what happened.
Didn't she have thousands?
Yeah, and also all the old Giant Baba's historical ring costume.
Wasn't that on display a few years ago in Tokyo?
All they show was one gown, one costume, and one ring boots. There are dozens of ring boots that he stopped using, dozens of short trunks, and the knee pads and socks, or different kind of kimono gown that he used. It's somewhere.
Very interesting.
Yeah, or the International Tag Team Championship belt that nobody knew existed. There's a second set.
Yeah. Because the first set they still
it's like an antique,
It's like the very small belt.
Lost. Yeah.
It's good. So that's lost forever, or
I don't know. It's like there's only Mrs. Baba's nephew knows about. There are a lot of costumes. Yeah, costumes. Or even Giant Baba's regular clothing, like like a sports blazer, sports coat, like a huge jacket. That can be displayed.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, 7'4" Japanese person wearing some kind of size 16 shoes. They should all, show it. Don't you think?
I think so. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Like a memorial museum, Giant Baba or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people can go and see. Yeah. Inoki should have his museum too soon, Yeah. But Inoki keep giving it away, so he doesn't have anything. I know.
I see.
I mean, all the costume, all the trunks he used to wear, the socks, or even ring-worn wrestling boots. He kept giving it away, And yeah. But Mrs. Baba pretty much kept it, so it's somewhere out there. Somewhere. Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting because some of the old championship belt exists somewhere, Yeah.
That'll be a mission or adventure for another person.
Yeah, someday. Yeah. I love championship belt. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Are we doing good?
I think we're going to wrap it up now. That's Stan Hansen. Between this episode and our first episode on him, I think we covered great portion of his
Great
career.
portion. Okay, good. We didn't really talk about his good matches or the character. But I was lucky enough to sit down with Stan a number of occasions. You know, when Bruiser Brody died, I did interview with Stan. When when Baba died, I had to go, to Stan's place and then just have a long 2-hour interview. When Jumbo died, I again had to do the interview. When Stan Hansen himself retired, I went over to Tokyo Dome Hotel and did the 2-hour interview. It's all in cassette tape. I still have it.
Yeah, it's in your I think you showed me the picture. There's so many different cassette tapes of not just Stan Hansen, but everybody.
Yeah, the Korgach, Abdul the Butcher, or even Triple H, Road Warrior Hawk,
Hogan, Brody.
Hogan, Brody. Yeah. I have Korgach, 1-hour tape. So I would love to make a montage movie maybe out of this. And I was thinking, because there's a 1-hour interview tape, my conversation with Hana Kimura too. I'm going to do something about it. 1-hour conversation, shoot conversation with her voice when she was 19. And I just looked back and listened to it about a week ago. What she was saying still makes sense today. Yeah.
It's amazing.
The way she wanted to be wrestler, what she wanted to be and how she wanted to be and what she wants to accomplish, how she look at the world, how she relates to her mother, and all kinds. Yeah.
Amazing how she saw what she was going to do, the presence that she had just at 19.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, I knew she was going to be something. I mean, the way she left this world, the tragedy, of course. But if not that, she was so special, and she was going to places and probably become bigger star than we can possibly imagine.
I mean, that's proof by just Terrace House alone. It was only a couple months. And that was it became huge to show itself.
Yeah, right.
And she was a big part of that when it was.
And she was just being heel in a worked situation, and people believed the reality show was real. I mean, how stupid can people be? I mean, watch other reality show, right? There's a heel in the house, of course. Then Hana was being heel because he was a wrestler, and the director told her to be heel. I mean, it's just nothing to reality show. It's just scripted, But people believed she was nasty or something, and posting nasty comments. And it was beginning of pandemic era, and everybody was home. There were more comments on Twitter than usual, and Hana was home all day. She was directly answering those comments. Never should have done that, If you hear back from the this person, she answered my comment. Then you get on and then write again something nasty, A
feedback loop.
And then hundreds of comments all day, and all by herself at her apartment. And she only moved into that apartment maybe like 4 or 5 months, previously. It was the first time she got out of, her mother's house, and it was the first time Hana got her own apartment and was decorating her own new apartment and was making her own castle. And it was I can't think. Oh God. Yeah.
Well, it's just amazing because Stan Hansen had lived and worked in a completely different environment than Hana Kimura had to.
Yeah.
Completely different. So it's hard to even. It's all the truth, but it's also what makes Stan Hansen so special. But because what impact he made during his time in a different period, and
these are things I think I believe that we are responsible to keep Stan Hansen's legacy, and then hand it to younger generations wrestling audience. Because probably wrestling magazine or internet wrestling web magazine type will never really acknowledge previous superstars,
unless it's it's a part of the system, if there's a connection that makes
WWE
sense
Hall of Fame or something
like that.
But for Stan Hansen, his home ground, his franchise, his home ring was in Japan, and he spent 25 years active in Japan, and things today's wrestling fans need to learn about. And I think it's you and my responsibility to hand this story down to next generation. I really believe that.
Just like Stan Hansen would work with guys like Kawada and Misawa.
Yeah.
It's the same motion.
Yeah.
Same gesture.
Yeah, I think so. And also, the more you know history, the better understanding of the big picture,
Yeah, I mean, when I grew up in the States, I grew up over here. I grew up with a different glimpse of what's going on, but now that we're older, now that we have a different kind of technology as things go on, we can get the other glimpses, or we could talk to other people who had an opposite glimpse, and we can get the full picture.
Yeah, bigger picture. Precisely, yeah.
Okay, so Fumi-san, what is your Twitter handle and Facebook context?
My Twitter handle is
contact you.
Fumihiko Dayo, Fumihiko-Dayo, Fumihiko Dayo on Twitter, or you can just find me Fumi Saito on Facebook. When you send to be friended. Okay, what's the word on Facebook?
To befriend Fumi-san.
Right. I'd like you to send me message first, so I can add you as a friend. Yeah.
Yeah, and on Twitter I'm at Justin M Nipper, KNIPPER. And so that'll do it. So that is our series on Stan Hansen. I hope you enjoyed our episode last week as well. So we're going to end it for now, and I'm going to give it to
you
Fumi.
And I will have more regular programming. Let's do it every week. I'm sorry. You know that I had to skip a couple weeks. But, I think we have a lot to share.
Yeah, we'll have some exciting new topics coming up for you over the next few weeks. So,
all right.
For Fumi, I'm Justin, and Fumi, can you take it away?
Okay, so long from Tokyo. See you next time.